Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, a Star Trek podcast. This week we are on episode 63, woo! In which we will discuss 11001001. And, you know what we should have done? You should have started it, and then I would have done it in a different pitch. You know, with their fucking creepy voices, where they all finish each other's sentences and shit. And too short a season. So in 11001001, the Enterprise is visited by the Binars, who are there to make some... What did they actually call them? There was enhancements.
Natural male enhancement.
That's what Riker was looking at.
Natural female enhancements. Oh. How real are you?
Actually about sums up the episode.
Yeah, that's basically it. So the Binars visit to make some enhancements to the holodeck.
No, the whole computer. The holodeck's just part of it.
They're doing the whole...
Oh, well, I guess.
Making the whole thing, fixing her up.
Riker goes to test out the new holodeck, i.e. put one in a hollow woman. And while he's there, very impressed with the atmosphere, Picard joins him, and then everything goes fucky. The magnetic... whatever, shield? Is it a shield?
The magnetic field around the antimatter containment unit.
Yeah, so that starts to break down, and they have to go straight to red alert, jettisoning Finney immediately. And everyone abandons ship. They're like, I wonder if the Binars had something to do with it.
I wonder if everyone actually abandoned ship with us, because we didn't check.
Well, as it turns out, Picard and Riker are still in the holodeck.
Threesome.
KISSING. They have no idea what's going on, because the fucking computer, for some reason, was like, nope, nobody's left in here. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Well, it was obviously the Binars.
The Binars did this, yeah. So everyone leaves the ship, and Picard and Riker are still in there, in the holodeck, getting their rocks off. They send the ship into orbit, because I think the fucking things are not into orbit, into space, because the, antimatter and the matter are going to get together and make a big bang, if you know what I mean. And
baby.
So as soon as it's out into space, the magnetic field starts to regenerate, and Picard and Riker are like, whoop, I guess that's enough masturbating today, and they leave.
We hit our quota.
Yeah. Someone's gonna need to clean up the mess. I hope it's like an oven in there, like it's got like a cleaning mode.
Self-cleaning mode.
I hope so, because Jesus, I wouldn't want to be that poor fucking ensign.
Beam it out into space.
That's a good point. It's just
gets on some other ship's windshield and a wipe.
It's got to go into the replicator, because you can't be losing mass.
We already talked a few weeks ago about reusing. I'm not admitting
we
the
can
episode.
never talk enough about sending space junk into space.
Space junk.
Space jizz from space junk.
Anyway,
so Picard and Riker leave the holodeck, and they're like, where the fuck is everybody? Oh, what the fuck? And they go to the bridge, and the Binars are there, and they're dying, and they're like, what the fuck? So they access the computer, and they're like, oh, fuck, they uploaded a bunch of shit, they filled up our whole fucking hard drive, what the fuck did they do?
Riker's all, where's my harp porn?
Yes.
They deleted my harp porn!
This better be important. And so they phone a friend, they call Data, and they're like, we're gonna find this file, what the fuck? And Data's like, they're fucking Binars, you morons, look up binary. And they're like, okay. And they find it, and it's huge. And I think at this point, one of the Binars kind of wake up, and they're like, we need your help. And Chris actually made that observation, so I will not take credit. But they're like, our fucking planet exploded or something. There was a supernova. We were too close to it. Everything got fried. We're doomed. Please re-upload our files to the cloud, or we were all gonna die. And they're guessing at passwords, and they figure it out. Was it Minuet? Was I right?
No, it never was Minuet. It was just
damn it! It should have been Minuet. What a bunch of bullshit.
Data was like, do an 8-string of.
Well, that was the file name, but then they had to do some kind of other code thing.
No, that was the password, which is really stupid. A shitty password, right? Because there's 256 possible combinations. It would take 10 seconds for a computer to
which is about how long it took.
Yeah.
I don't know. Were they making it obvious to find, though?
I think
we're getting too deep.
Well, then why put a password on? Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
So anyway, they guess the password in about 10 seconds, and the day is saved, and the Binars are like, we will gladly take whatever punishment you will mete out, or whatever the fucking weirdos. And
I love them.
I know, we'll get there. At any rate, they're like, oh, if you need to punish us, that's cool. And Picard's like, nah, bro, but why didn't you just ask? And they were like, because we were afraid you'd say no. And that was it.
Yeah.
Basically
Yeah,
it.
basically.
And then but Riker's woman was gone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was
Anyway.
very sad.
Lucky her.
Oh.
And actually, her replacement was a fucking dog.
Wow.
Riker's
Yeah.
still
All of the other women he manifested in there were.
Riker still tested each one to check.
I thought the blonde, the first one was okay.
Blondes don't go with jazz
That's
or
true.
whatever the
He
fuck.
wanted
What
a
is
nice-
that supposed to mean?
And then they give him another blonde woman.
Well, she was like a
Dirty blonde.
Dirty blonde.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dirtier than you can imagine.
Well, if she's in Riker's hologram,
look,
yeah.
Alaskans don't go with Jazz Riker, so
It's true.
he's Alaskan, right? I'm not making that
He
up.
is Alaskan.
Wow.
He is not Canadian.
He's a...
Jonathan
you know-
Frakes? Or
No,
Riker?
Riker, he's from
Okay.
Alaska.
The holograms are lucky that they can't, like, get all of his space STDs. That's all I'm saying. Are they STIs now? STIs, right? Have we gotten rid of STD?
I thought those are technically two different
things?
I don't know.
Well, I guess infection versus... I don't really know. It
Although
doesn't
either
matter.
way, in the future, it's SSTD or I, because it's space.
Well, for a second I thought you were being serious, but you're
something.
actually just making up bullshit.
I am. Anyway, the next
Okay,
episode.
The next episode, too short a season, we see some really fucking bad old age makeup.
Oh,
Admiral-
worse than in the fucking old years? What was the Deadly Years, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, on par definitely with how shitty they made Bones look. It's like,
Yeah.
he was
Poor
actually
Bones.
fucking old. Why? You just put a
Well,
little...
they wanted to make him look way older.
Extra old?
They wanted to
Yeah,
make him
well,
look
they-
like hundreds
well,
of years
they
old.
fucked it. Everybody looks terrible. So, Admiral Mark Jameson is getting... He's an admiral, hence it's not his first name. It's his title. He gets picked up from whatever floating rocking chair he was living on because there's a hostage situation on Mordon 4. And is it Mordan? Mordan, excuse me.
I say less Dan.
I say less. I was just going to say I would prefer more David. So I'm really glad that we're on the same page as usual. So anyway, there's a hostage situation on Mordan 4, and Admiral Mark Jameson is going because he has dealt 45 years earlier with a hostage situation with the governor there, Karnas, who I kept calling Carnitas. Because he looked delicious. No, I'm just
In
kidding.
his tie-dye uniform.
Oh, God,
like,
yes.
like blue camo. I like
It was like tie-dye, though.
Ooh, it's getting hot in here. Anyway, so he shows up, him and his sexy little wifey thing, who actually, they didn't old up at all. Which made sense because she was actually an older actress. I know.
She
Whatever.
looked good.
But she
But
was
at
not.
first-
She was no 80-some-odd years old.
No, there's no way.
He could have like married a younger chick.
Well, they were
You
50.
know-
Had been married for 50 years.
So
So
she's
he
50.
he married her right out of the womb. I was just gonna say that.
Is this a Roy Moore situation?
Oh.
No,
I was gonna say Stephanie
Here?
Myers.
Is this a Patrick Stewart situation here?
Whoa, what?
Patrick Stewart's wife is like 25.
Ooh, well, listen. He probably can't get it up anymore. And she's gonna get a lot of fucking money. So
Also, he's
who
Patrick
really-
fucking Stewart. Okay?
Yeah, I'd marry
Any woman
Patrick
would be
Stewart.
lucky.
I'll just be his side piece. I don't give a shit.
go.
I love him. For the street cred,
Any
I would.
man would be lucky.
Anyone.
mean-
Any
sentient
bipedal
being.
humanoid. Everything else would
Any
be
Vulcan, any Romulan.
would be unable to
anybody.
consent and would be creepy. So anyway, enough about Sir Patrick's boner. Oh, I'm so sorry, Patrick.
You should
It's
be.
Patrick Stewart. Can I call you Patrick? I'm so sorry. Anyway, so they're going to Mordan to visit Carnitas and hopefully fix this situation, this hostage crisis that's happening. This fucking guy, his brilliant plan, he got some alien microbe space jism that he drank to become
Fountain of Youth sauce.
so,
liberally.
I'm gonna call that. That's what cum's gonna be from now on.
Oh.
They say it's
Fountain-
good for the skin, right?
Oh.
I mean, here's the thing. They also say that morning urine is good for treating acne. So, like,
I
there's-
piss on my face every day.
Piss
on face every day.
Anyway.
oh man,
That's why your skin is so
we are on a
glowing.
roll. Anyhow, to wrap this up, he starts getting young, but he had initially got 2 doses so that he and his hot wife could have bangy times for another 85 years. But the fucking dipshit took both doses because he wanted to be young and virile and shit for his mission. And he destroyed his cellular structure, and as he began to grow younger and younger, he was not able to stabilize. And so death was imminent. And with this destabilizing came massive shooting pains and seizure-like situation happening. Oh, and his wife is bullshit, by the way.
Rightfully so.
And, we talk about it, but the fucking creepy when he's like, let's go fuck Pamela,
Yeah, we'll talk
whatever
about
her
that.
name is.
Anne.
Anne, that's right. Thank you. That's good. So they're on their way, and, Picard's like, why do you... I gotta do my Sean Connery impression. Why do you want to head this mission so badly, Jameson? And he's like, do you know what happened there last time? And it turns out what happened there last time was instead of actually successfully negotiating peace and getting the hostages out, Jameson caved to the demands of Carnitas and gave him a lot of weapons that he was requesting. And then, because his interpretation of the Prime Directive made it make sense, he gave the same weapons to the other side of a civil war that was apparently taking place on this planet.
He basically pulled he pulled a private little war.
Yeah, as
right.
long as they're both kitted out with weapons,
So,
it's okay.
Really, it's just the Kirk doctrine.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We should know better now, damn it, Jim. So he admits all of this to Picard, and he's like, that's why I have to go do it, blah, whatever. And the whole time he's on the ship, he's like, first of all, has a huge boner to be back on the ship, and second of all, is like, I'm gonna head this away team myself, yada yada, whatever.
Look, I can walk again.
Oh, God, so gross. And anyway, so by the time they get to Mordan, he is like young and actually kind of attractive. I was a little surprised because
He was about Riker level of attractiveness.
yeah,
The two
with
of
or
them
without,
could have
with
hit
or
it
without
off.
the beard.
Without the beard.
Okay, good. I just want to say
Pre-beard
pre-beard Riker. Yeah. And so he's like, all right, let's do this shit. And he and all of the most important members of the crew, as always, go down. And I'm like, okay, you're gonna fucking send this guy? He keeps having fucking spasms. You think that's a good idea during a fucking important mission? And
It doesn't sound like they had a choice.
well, I know, because he's an
You
admiral.
pulled rank.
I was actually kind of waiting for him to take over the ship, because when he's at the con, he's like, yeah. And Picard's like, don't forget you only have it for a little bit, dick ass. Anyway, they go to the planet, and he's like, let's go to the tunnels where he held the hostages last time. They'll definitely be there. But they've, like, blocked it off, and there's a firefight, and he has a spasm, and they're like, oh, noes! And they all transport back up, and he's obviously dying, and he's like, we have to go turn me over. It's the only way to get the hostages free. So they go over to Carnitas, and he's like, it's me. You've always been stubborn, blah, 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 whatever. Long story short, he dies painfully in front of Karnas, who is like, all right, well, I'm good. Release the hostages.
That's all I wanted.
The end.
I wanted this guy to die.
Yeah.
The end. Basically.
Yeah.
That's it. Happy ending, sort of.
All right.
Yeah.
Not the usual kind.
Basically.
No. Okay. So 11001001.
I liked this one.
This was actually possibly my favorite of the series so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
really
keep
like
hearing
this.
that it's the best of season 1. And honestly, I think it's pretty good regardless, so...
It's a really good
Yeah,
episode.
no, I think it's the only objection I think I had to the whole thing was like Riker and Minuet. It was just creepy how quickly he was like,
I could fall in love with this hologram.
I feel like that's in his character, though. There were a couple other elements of the script that I thought were extraneous.
Is he
Oh,
a
can I do
cancer?
that? Can I do the
Red alert, eject Finney.
Red alert, eject Finney, plot hole alert, plot hole alert.
okay.
So
Oh, I think I know this one.
the
Binars.
Binars intended to lock Riker in the holodeck
Yep.
so that in case they died, as they did, that there would be somebody to resurrect them when they got to their home planet. They did not intend Picard to also get locked, and that was just a happy coincidence, as Minuet
but they
says.
needed both of them.
But it was a two-person job to wake them up.
Yeah.
So what
And
the
it
fuck,
totally didn't need
Binars?
to be a two-person job. It was literally, it added 2 seconds
Yeah.
to the episode. It
Like, and
wasn't
also,
a
like,
twist.
Riker probably could have done it with just 2 hands on both consoles.
Yeah.
It's one of those,
and the...
It's one of those puzzles in a video game where you have to like hit the X in the right time so everybody hits the button at the same time. A la Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, the realization that, oh, there's always 2 Binars because they come in pairs. Maybe we have to do it twice. It's like, really? That's a really stupid conclusion. And you
Yeah.
should feel bad for thinking of it.
But other than that massive plot hole,
Yeah. And again,
I really
by
like
me.
the episode, and and the fact that their home planet is called Binus.
It's like a two-anused person. There you
I was
go.
thinking
Wow.
two penis. I was thinking like a bifurcated penis.
But yeah, no.
I could also have done without the going to auto-destruct. I thought that was an unnecessary complication.
They apparently need fewer people to do it now, too.
It's true. They only needed captain and first officer.
Yeah.
It wasn't a code. It was just saying yes.
Well, they
Yeah.
had like biometric authentication.
Stuff, yeah. It, like, took some of their blood or
Penis.
something. But,
You have to fuck the computer to go to auto-destruct.
Well, I'm guessing
Sounds like my kind of job.
So I would imagine there might be different rules for the auto destruct depending on who's on board.
yeah, I
Like
suppose
if
that's
there's
true.
literally only 2 people on board
Yeah.
that are authorized, then I'm sure the computer would make an exception. Or like if the captain was the only person there, he could probably do it on his own.
That's true.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And plus, really, at the end of the day, if you really wanted to, I'm sure it wouldn't be hard to boop a few buttons and just cause the warp core to go critical.
Yeah. Just turn
He
off
just
that
does that a lot.
magnetic seal.
The magnetic field could just
Yeah.
bloop, throw some aluminum foil in there and
That's
fuck it right
probably
up.
how the self-destruct works anyway.
Yeah.
Right, just like deactivates the magnetic field around the antimatter.
Probably.
The effect
Well,
of-
no. If the only auto destruct we've ever seen go all the way through is the original Enterprise, and that explosion started in the saucer.
Yeah, I mean
It was
that
like
one,
they had charges in the saucer.
yeah, that one appears like they just built explosives into the ship.
Yeah, it would make more sense to just have the core go critical.
Yeah, because
Well,
it's
and
like
also,
we
you
are
don't just
built
want
out of a
active
bomb.
explosives like fucking sitting around either.
Although
That
I
seems
think-
like seems
Feels
like an
something
OSHA violation.
Yeah, Wesley could easily like, hey, I bought this bomb activating device.
Although now that I think of it, I think we talked about this with Star Trek 3, and we said the reason you wouldn't want a warp core malfunction to be the auto destruct is you really there's a point where you can't stop
Yeah,
a warp
could you-
core breach.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas
Well,
with
you can
auto
stop
destruct, you
an
can
auto-destruct.
it always stops at 1 to quote
Although
I like
this
how
one
this
it
one
started
sounded
stopped
like-
at 1:59.
Yeah, that was nice.
that was yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't even any artificial tension.
But I
they
think
stopped
that's okay
so-
because it was just I'm okay with it because it was kind of a, like you say, it was a distraction, but I think it was okay because it showed the seriousness of the situation and how far Picard was willing to like go.
Yeah, but I think the first thing you do before saying, well, let's go to auto-destruct because we don't know what's going on is, how about you go talk to the Binars?
Yeah, but
You're a fucking diplomat.
They
Do your
didn't know
job.
they didn't know if they were going to even be able to get to the bridge. They
Yeah.
were in engineering.
Didn't they beam in?
They eventually beamed. That's how they decided to
Do
get
they
in.
not know they'd be able to beam in?
Well, they didn't know if maybe the Binars were there waiting with guns and were going
Yeah.
to shoot them. You know,
Then
that's
they beam
why.
in with guns themselves.
That's why they did beam in with guns themselves.
But that was why they beamed in 2 different locations.
Yeah.
Was they were like maybe
Also, they couldn't be surrounded. So
yeah.
much.
So if we're
Catch
lucky,
somebody-
they'll only kill one of us.
Surprise.
The point
Maybe.
is, I think it was a prudent precaution to activate the self-destruct because if the Binars, like, what if the Binars had drained, had removed all the oxygen off of the bridge and they beamed in and they suffocated to death? You know, there's lots of things that could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
So they had a fail-safe, which was, well, if we aren't able to regain control of the ship, then
And this is
it'll blow up.
one of the most advanced ships in the fleet, and presumably, if a Constitution class could destroy the surface of a planet, as was mentioned several times in TOS, I'm sure this motherfucker could do even worse.
Incidentally, if they had gone through with the self-destruct, it would have been committing genocide because all of the
Yes.
Binars were in the computer.
Yeah, But I liked it because I feel like with these two, I feel like just last week I was sort of bemoaning the fact that, like, when the fuck does Picard become Picard? And I feel like between these 2 episodes, it starts to fall into place.
Yeah, this was a very Picard episode.
Yeah, like more so the next one, but even this one, he got to be in a very dire strait. We've not seen that yet. Like at this scale, where again he just pops out. It's like, oh god, we're the only ones on the ship. I don't know what's going on. And then once he realizes something is afoot, he's like, all right, cancel the violence. Let's talk to people.
Yeah, we'll make it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. So I feel like he's starting to sort of the pieces are beginning to fall into place, and that's good because Picard up until this point has been mostly disappointing. But yeah, the Binars very, very Thermian-esque.
Yeah.
At first, I don't know. Except they were always kind of creepy in a way the Thermians never were.
It reminded me a lot of the Telosians.
Yeah, there's a lot of that
the
there.
makeup was kind of Telosian.
Yeah, and they did the whole casting very small women in the role so they'd have a different physical look, which was cool.
That annoyed me. It's like, Riker, They have told you they're not
Yeah,
a
he called them
gendered
gentlemen
species.
a million times.
You kept calling them guys, gentlemen. Like, you fucking be better than that.
But isn't
It's the future. We're all tolerant now.
Well, but in the future, at least in Star Trek, isn't like the male actually the default? Like, isn't everybody sir?
It depends on who's writing the episode
Yeah,
or
that's
movie.
more like military types thing.
Oh, all right. Well, I don't know.
Plus, Sean Connery even said to him, like, they're not gendered.
Sean Connery?
Their boss had a very sort of like Sean Connery when he has a beard look going
I thought
on.
He looked like Picard with a beard.
That was
I thought it was
like,
weird
what the
Picard.
fuck, casting department?
Yeah.
Like, why are you casting a guy that looks very similar to Patrick Stewart?
Maybe
with a beard.
maybe like
He's got no
Leslie,
beard.
he was Stewart's stand-in in some scenes.
Well, I was wondering that. I was wondering if he was like a stand-in or a stunt guy, and they just had to like sub him in because he
That's
looked
possible.
a lot like him.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe the initial casting fell through, and they're like, "Shit, Johnson, you're in the episode now."
We have uniforms that fit you.
You're in.
Actually, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Oh, our first actual, I know we brought it up previously, but our first proper mention of Parisi squares.
Yeah, and they're
That's
really
right.
stupid-looking uniforms.
So stupid.
Yes.
Really dumb.
It's also like in the future it's mentioned as being like an extremely dangerous game,
Yeah.
and yet they're like, yeah, we're just having a little fun.
Well, I mean, for Worf, certainly.
If
That's
winning
true.
doesn't matter, why do you keep score?
Yeah, like that was like again, like I
love
feel
you,
like
Worf.
Something I've been thinking about this show is one because it's definitely been slow out of the gate, and I think that one of the things that has really kind of been lacking is we haven't really gotten to our characters very much yet. Like we know like Data is fairly well developed at this point.
Yeah.
Picard's getting there.
Riker
Finally.
doesn't have a beard yet.
Like Riker, but otherwise, like the other characters are fairly two-dimensional, and eventually, obviously, we are going to have some really fully fledged. I was thinking about this in relation to we watched Family Guy Star Trek Orville.
Actually, I know you've watched like the first two episodes.
Only the first
Chris.
episode at this point.
The rest are actually
That's
good.
right.
Okay to good.
No, shut the fuck up.
Okay. No, there was one that was good.
I would say there were probably 2 episodes that I was like, yeah, this is good. Otherwise, I was like, this is derivative.
The derivative ones were ones that I was like, they're at least going the right direction.
Mm-mm. Well, I don't want to turn this into the Orville podcast.
We should do an Orville spin-off when we're done.
Maybe.
But Orville 10 forward.
10
Well,
forward,
yeah, 10 forward. Here's the thing, right? And this is more, I'm going to speak generally about the Orville, or as I like to call it, store-brand Star Trek.
I thought you were gonna say Snorville.
Store brand.
I mean, it kind of is, right? I mean, it's like...
No, that's perfect.
It looks similar. You could, if you like saw the two next to each other, you'd be like, Anyway.
I think it works just as well.
Yeah, but it's not quite there. It's like those Oreos. They're just a little too mushy, and they don't have the crisp.
Although, Hydrox came first.
I know, but they're shittier, so that's why they're dead now.
Yeah, you gotta get the Trader Joe's ones.
The Trader Joe's ones are pretty good.
Those are good.
For store brand Oreos.
What are they called?
JoJo's.
That's it.
JoJo's.
Yeah, those are good.
Sorry, I know you were saying.
Anyway, so what I was going to say is I think one of my biggest hang-ups with the Orville, and admittedly one of my biggest hang-ups with this first season of Star Trek, has been the characters are virtually non-existent. Like, there's actors playing parts.
Yeah.
But, for example, like, so Orville, right? Mm-hmm. I know that there's the snarky pilot guy. There's
the snarky navigator,
there's
who's the same character.
but blacker.
But a black guy.
Yeah, no, but his character, his character, I feel like, is just pretty much just like the black guy, which is kind of upsetting because they tried to give him a little more to do in the later episodes, but like at first I was like, oh, this guy's he's like doing the black thing, and it's just a little dated. Anyway, there's like the tough girl character, the one that's strong.
Oh, with the weird ears.
Like the only characters whose names I know are the only character whose name I know is Vortis, who's like the
I keep
Klingon.
forgetting his name.
He's the only one I know.
Isaac is my favorite.
Oh yeah,
I adore
Isaac. I guess I know him. But
Isaac is the best
I don't
character.
know what's
He's the robot.
He's the robot. He hates the children so
okay.
much.
All right. Pop quiz, Hotshot. What is the first officer's name?
Kelly.
Oh shit! You knew it. Is that it?
Yes.
And she knew it immediately. Not only did
That's
she
pretty
know
good.
it was like there wasn't even a fucking
But
beat.
okay, all
I
right.
almost said Kristen, and then I realized nope, because I knew what you were going to ask.
What's Seth MacFarlane's name?
Captain.
Yeah.
Captain Brian from Family Guy.
I was just saying, so Seth MacFarlane has a holiday album, I will say, because there's a couple that actually say Christmas, but the rest of them are just sort of general winteriness. But, like, whenever we listen to it, all I can see is Brian.
From Family Guy.
That's it. Like, Seth MacFarlane is Brian.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, but admittedly, Kelly, her character is Seth MacFarlane's ex-wife.
Yeah. Beginning
and end.
I don't know. See, I think the character is very close to Seth MacFarlane as well.
Well, yeah.
Each character has the same sense of humor.
Her character is very close to Seth MacFarlane's wife, and has a weird mole between her eyes, which is weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is, first season TNG and first season Orville have a lot in common, more than just one is a ripoff of the other.
Which is which, though?
It's also the fact that I think that they're both lacking in character development. And to Chris's point, I think that these two episodes, or was it you? I don't know. Somebody said...
Yeah, these have been good for Picard.
Are good for Picard development. And I think in general, we're starting in, like, I was going to say... Oh, yeah, what made me think of this was Worf. Like, we get a one-liner from Worf that's like, oh, yeah, that's something...
Well, she even says,
Worf
I think he's developing a sense of humor.
Yeah, which, of course, Tasha will never become a character, unfortunately.
That's a shame.
I'm sorry.
Interesting
Tasha Yar.
backstory.
Pro, cats.
Yep.
Con, rape gangs.
That's true.
Her likes and dislikes are...
Pro, banged Data.
Oh my god. Don't slut shame Tasha
We
Yar.
saw in this episode a crewman with a scant.
We did.
I missed
in the
the
background.
scant?
He was in the background.
He was freaking out
I
during
don't know why we went from Tasha banging everyone immediately to scant, but...
She's chasing skirts?
But yeah, he was,
I like that.
Chasing
he was freaking out
Chasing
during
scants.
the order to evacuate.
Oh, no.
Oh!
That kid that tripped?
The kid that tripped, and I noticed that the carpet was a little bunched up. So I'm like,
It was a real trip.
It was a real trip.
Why did they keep that footage?
No, maybe, because
Why would
it
they
makes it
keep
look
that?
chaotic.
If I was nervous, I would trip.
There's a scene
Maybe.
much in the future, in another evacuation scene, where, like, I blame Rick Berman for this, because it was a Rick Berman call, where, like, they're evacuating and there's children running and a girl drops her teddy bear. And, like, it shows, like, this gratuitous shot of the girl going, and it's just like, oh, fuck you, Rick Berman, you fuck.
Yeah.
And someone stun guns her and carries her away.
Well, they're already carrying her away.
Yeah, so it's fine.
No, on the topic of the evacuation, I want to draw attention to something that I picked up on. So they show a shot of the transport room and everyone's being beamed out. Mm-hmm. And there's a group of people. There's like two small children.
Yep.
Wesley.
Why are they saving Wesley?
A woman in civilian clothes and a Starfleet officer. Yep. And I'm like, isn't it women and children first? What are you the great grandson of J. Bruce Ismay, you fuck? You get first lifeboat out?
Who the hell is J. Bruce?
I'm guessing it's a Titanic.
He was the president of the White Star Line.
I see.
Who famously...
He wasn't on the first lifeboat.
No, but he left...
No, but he
should have gone down with the
ship. Yes.
Everyone agrees.
So if
Ismay's a shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about Data. Data did some weird shit this episode. First, he thinks he's an artist now. And Geordi is tutoring him in art.
A blind man teaching a robot how to do art.
Yeah, Riker was a real asshole this episode.
Riker was fucking weird. And then Data makes the decision to evacuate the ship and let it go blow itself up out in space.
But also decides that it's not yet time to tell the captain there's a
Exactly.
problem.
The minute you were like, the magnetic field on the antimatter containment chamber was failing, you tell him toot sweet.
He says,
Nah,
there's no
tell him
time.
later.
There's no time. We have to make the decision right now. And then they take, 5 minutes to evacuate the ship. It's like, you had time, buddy.
He got
There was
mad
lots
with
of
power.
time.
Mad with
The
power.
fact that no one called the captain. I mean, I guess the idea is that the captain would hear the evacuation alarm.
They could have just said, we tried, and whatever the thing that was happening in the holosuite was happening made it not go through, and then they could realize, oh, maybe he's down on taking his shore leave with his personal relaxation light.
I made a note about that. That was so weird.
Whatever that is.
I don't want to know.
Does he have seasonal defective disorder?
Yeah, that's what seasonal affected, right? SAD, because it's abbreviated SAD. Because
actually, that's probably way more common if you think about it. They're all on these long haul space flights. unless you're
see
one of the
much
lucky
the sun.
bastards that gets to go on an away mission, that's actually probably super common in Starfleet.
How do they get all their vitamin D?
Pills,
Yeah, I know.
milk. It's in milk.
I'm sure, like...
But how, replicator. Well, but can you replicate vitamin D into milk? Because I mean, is vitamin D naturally occurring in milk, or do we just chuck it in there?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I know vitamin R is in milk.
I don't get it.
It's from The Simpsons.
Oh,
Oh, I thought that was Ernest Saves Halloween or whatever.
that's a
No.
deep cut. Jesus Christ.
Oh, to your earlier point, though, Jake, about Ismay. Even if it's not women and children first, you would think it would at least be civilians first.
Well, yeah.
Well, see, the thing is, I feel like it should be people who will be useful on the lifeboat first.
But there is no lifeboat. In this case, they're just beaming over to the
space
Oh, that's
dock.
true.
to the much
That's true.
bigger space station they're
Yeah.
inside of. It's like, it's not like the Titanic. They're not going to be at sea for days.
But yeah, I mean, at
You
the very
can't put
least,
nothing but children in a lifeboat, though, because then the lifeboat won't go anywhere.
that's a sequel to Lord of the Flies. So, but yeah, sorry, I sidetracked us back to Ismay Ames, and you were talking about Data.
Sidetracking. Oh, let's talk about the Orville again. No.
Oh, and then he all felt bad. It's like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, he was doing the best with what he had.
Was this my fault for not being on the bridge? It's like, no, it's not your fault for not being on the bridge. It's your fault for not telling the captain. So it was still your fault, but not for the reason
Well, he did
thought.
eventually try.
Guys, how was he supposed to know that those two heads of the sides of civil wars would use weapons on each other instead of negotiating peace?
Are you trying to segue to the next
No,
episode?
not really.
Actually,
Not really,
let
because...
me make a case for Data.
All right,
Let me defend Data here.
all right.
Presumably,
He's not on trial here, Jake.
I know, but
That's a
The
later
Binars
episode.
are.
so let's say, everyone was basically on shore leave,
Yeah.
and they left, and I'm guessing before Picard left for his relaxation light, and Riker left for
His trombone session.
his
Tromboner.
bone session. He
Oh god, he called it a bone. That
I need
annoyed
a
me
bone.
I
so
was
much.
like, what the fuck is that? Chris is like, it's a trombone. I was like, oh.
Does the holodeck understand
It
that?
apparently did.
You know what I realized? Just a quick note that I made before Jake can go on. They were talking about upgrading the holodeck, and I think the one change that they made was that the characters no longer point out that you're in a weird uniform.
I was wondering if maybe this was out of order with the Big Goodbye, because they make reference in the Big Goodbye to how the
They do, you're
holodeck
right,
was
yeah.
recently
Yeah.
upgraded.
It was originally
that's
intended
funny.
to air before the Big Goodbye,
See,
and
that
that
makes
this
more
would be
sense.
fixing
Oh,
the
that's so
problem
funny.
from the Big Goodbye, but then they released them out of order
That's wicked funny.
for reasons. Production reasons, I imagine.
Anywho.
Continuity!
Anyway, what I was going to say was, so everyone's left. The captain, first officer, they've so I'm guessing before they left, Picard said, Data, you have the ship.
No. Wesley had the ship.
Fucking
What?
Wesley.
Did you not? I said that. So Wesley was the only Enterprise crew on the bridge at one point.
He was watching those Binars like he had a thing for them.
Well,
Yeah, but
because
he was
Riker
on-
told him to keep an eye on them. So, because
yeah,
Picard
but
went to
not
his
that
ready,
close.
Picard went to his ready room. Sean Connery was there with the Binars, and before Riker left, he gave Wesley the bridge. And I was like,
No.
Yeah,
Wesley?
well,
I know he's technically an officer,
Yeah, but I
but
think he was. I think
And a
to
gentleman.
paraphrase
No.
Riker here, I think he was throwing Wesley a trombone because
Because what could go
'Cause-
wrong?
yeah, 'cause
Somebody's
they're-
just doing some maintenance.
they're in space dock.
Yeah.
There's an adult on the bridge. It's like,
Yeah.
Wesley, you have the bridge. But I think more likely Picard and Riker were both on shore leave. Data was the senior officer who was on duty.
yeah.
But he
So-
was painting.
So yeah, but he was still sort of, he was still working. He was still available.
Yeah. Well, he is third in command, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a second officer. So
Good for him.
I don't know if that's been established yet, but
Oh, okay.
eventually it is. So it makes sense that, Data thinking, oh, I'm in command of the ship, I have to make a command decision
Yeah.
to evacuate the ship. If he has reasonable assumption to believe that the captain and Riker are both off the ship.
And the computer said they weren't
Yeah.
on there, so... And they didn't know the Binars were up to something at that point, so there's no reason to doubt the computer.
So I'm actually going to give Data, I'm not going to give him any blame. I'm actually going to credit him with his quick thinking and making a game time decision.
Yeah.
That if it had actually been an emergency, would have saved everyone.
Yeah, he didn't shoot Wesley out the finny tube, so
That's
points
true.
off.
That's a
Shoot
good
him out
point.
the finny tube.
I will say, though, just, you remind me of this because you said game time decision. I love when Picard and Riker do set the auto-destruct. You know, you get this ultra-futuristic starship, shitty little, like, LED bulb clock.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Yeah, they couldn't have made it a computer screen, you know,
Or just-
like they did in Star Trek 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, 5 years earlier.
He has it set to analog or something.
Yeah, okay.
He likes the retro look.
Yeah,
so.
that's a thing. In the 24th century, the retro look's coming back.
It's actually
for the 18th time or something.
It's a graphic of a cartoon bomb with a wick slowly getting shorter while the timer. Captain,
oh my god, I wish that was it.
Does that seem appropriate? Look here, number one. If I'm going to destroy my ship, I'm going to have some whimsy. God damn it!
Oh my god. I have two thoughts. First thought is that relaxation light is the same cheap gift shop shit that Riker gave to Queen What's-Her-Ass from Lady Town.
In fact, it probably was... If they probably aired that episode out of order 2,
Yeah.
and Riker was just re-gifting it.
Not really.
It was a little sticky.
He stole. Oh god.
It's like, now that we have this holodeck, number 1 here.
So the note I was looking at earlier that made me kind of grimace was when the Binars like kind of glance at Riker and each other and leave on the holodeck. I feel like their thought was, let's get out of here. Shit's about to get sticky.
We're about to touch dicks.
And then Picard walks in. It's like, I heard there's some dick touching going on.
Yeah, I was like, oh, thanks. Here comes Captain Cockblock.
And the second he learns, Riker's on the holodeck, I'll just walk in.
Yeah, there's...
He could have been in mid-fuck. He could have been balls deep in minuet.
I think we mentioned this
awkward.
in the Troy boyfriend episode.
Troy friend
Yeah.
episode.
Yes, and the Wyatt Derp episode.
You said the same thing
I
in the
know.
episode.
I forgot, but that's
I
great.
reserve the right to recycle my jokes.
Troy friend and Wyatt Derp.
We are fast approaching the montage episode.
That's true. I think we said during that one that the holodeck really needs like
A lock.
a lock, and you have to buzz in because this is the second time Riker's been walked in on in the holodeck while trying to get it on with a lady.
To quote a clever girl from Jurassic Park, how many times do I have to tell them to put locks on the doors?
Yeah, true.
How many times do you have to? Once
true.
should have been sufficient. My other thought was I fucking hated when Riker and Picard are in the holodeck talking about girl face like she's not there. I know she's not there. I know she's a computer program. I was really bothered. My god, she's incredible. I know. Look at her tits! Like... What the fuck? And also the really creepy, like, the Tasha Yar Data-esque moment when he's like, how real are you?
Yo.
And I'm just like...
Yeah.
Are you fully functional and trained in many techniques?
I was just so uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah, I think as a matter of both policy and common sense, yes, the holodeck is going to be used for banging. Like it's just going to happen.
That was, I think, its initial function.
Well,
yeah, it was like it was VR porn.
Well,
They stuck it
in Discovery. They're using it for like
combat
target practice.
Training, yeah, that makes sense.
Which does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the opening of that episode being like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then I was like, "Oh, it's just fake."
It's a holodeck.
Well, fair enough.
Well, if
Which
we
is cool.
I mean, probably, there was the holodeck on the Enterprise originally in TAS. That they probably just installing. All right, if we give Kirk virtual women to fuck, maybe he'll. Nope, he didn't stop.
Maybe he'll at least not spread STDs.
I think you are playing into the Kirk
Is a man whore.
The Kirk is a man whore myth.
True, which I think
He doesn't do nearly as much banging as I expected.
In
though.
season 3, though, it was every fucking
Riker
is already
surpassed
he's
Kirk's
a fucking
prowess with the alien ladies.
We've seen him plow one alien lady.
How many illegitimate
and
space
try to
kids do we think that they
Well,
each
no,
have?
we know he was plowing on the fuck planet in Justice.
Absolutely.
Obviously.
Definitely plowing.
And we know he was plowing on rescue
the elected one or whatever the name was.
The ladies are in charge and everything's wrong.
We know he definitely masturbated in the harp porn episode.
And we
probably
know
had to after this episode concluded because Picard stopped him midstream or something.
And we know that he probably was going to bang Minuet, who, let's admit it, was probably the consciousness of one of the Binars pretending to be a woman.
Is that weird?
Anyway, no, but what I was going to say before we got onto that is the holodeck is a cool invention. No, so the holodeck, right? They know we were going to bang on it. Like, that's why, that's part of the reason it's there.
And
It's
why it has that self-cleaning.
It's to let off some steam.
Yeah.
It's to let off some stream. But I think all of the holodeck characters should be pre-programmed, just like the safety controls that they have in there. You should not be able to be emotionally attached to holodeck creatures. They should be strictly fuck puppets. 100, like, no, like, you're just in there to dump some seed, and that's it.
What about the people
Or
who
receive
are
seed.
Or
seed.
say, get your whatever tickled.
Yeah, or do whatever. You're in there to do whatever.
A lady
it
getting
is.
fucked. I feel like, women want to get fucked by holograms just as much as men want to fuck holograms.
I'm not sure that's really okay. So Chris is suggesting tickling, and you're basically ringing it like a cowbell. I don't know what the fuck. Oh my god, what has happened? I think bongo clip was my favorite though. That was good. Everybody can play bongos. Isn't that a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode? Doesn't he like say something about like how hard is it to? Jesus Christ.
Anyway,
on someone's clitoris.
So I don't know. It just seems irresponsible for the holodeck to be capable of creating things which are basically which a human being could, or another alien could potentially grow an emotional attachment to.
I'm just gonna stop you right there. People marry their real dolls. It doesn't matter if they're just fuck puppets.
Yeah,
People can fucking grow attached to anything.
That's true.
Yeah.
First of all, second of all, I think
be
Riker.
a mental illness. Marrying a real doll. Maybe.
Who
I
can
don't know.
say?
Like
I
the
don't
people
know.
with the anime pillows.
Listen,
I don't know.
I'm not here to diagnose. I'm
we
just
sort
saying.
of do get into over attachment to fictional people with Barclay eventually.
Well, yeah, we get there, and yet we learn nothing.
True. Really, the safety should just be, and this would piss everyone off, is just you get clothes off of a holodeck person, and they're just a Barbie.
Yeah.
Just nothing. Smooth.
No, that's terrible. Nobody wants that.
Well, I don't want people fucking in the holodeck.
Dude,
That's
if
what
I had a
people want,
holodeck,
though.
I would fuck on the holodeck.
Also,
I would never leave the holodeck.
I think it would just become just doing incredibly depraved shit. Like what was like the worst thing that you could imagine doing, and that's what you would end up doing.
I can
that
imagine
reminds
some
me.
pretty bad
Yeah,
things.
you could do it. You could do it. You
that-
could do it.
That
It
reminds me.
might solve pedophilia.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I'm not being trite
Picard
or
walks
like
in.
laughing about it. I'm saying honestly,
Whip me up some kids.
I would like to think Picard.
Give
would
me
not.
5 Wesleys and an axe.
that I agree with. Just
5
murdering-
Wesleys and an axe.
But that actually reminds
That's the
me
name of the episode.
something
now.
I said about the Binars, which was they're like when I forget who says it. It might be Wesley. It's like it must be a lot of it must be plenty of advantages. Having a society so linked to technology. Like there are some drawbacks though, and they never say what they are. So my thought was what I said was like, yes, we have seen all the porn. All of it.
I assume the
We
drawback.
cannot be aroused anymore. There is no act too depraved that can give us feelings.
It's too late because I've already seen everything.
I've seen it all.
Oh God.
But yeah, no, I think.
Anyway.
We should get to the other episode. It's
No, we're not done talking about child murder and
We
masturbation.
can talk about child murder in this one too.
I do have one question. Last question, I promise. Is holodeck fucking technically just masturbation?
Yes.
Okay, great. Moving on.
Is murdering
Unless you bring someone
holodeck
in with
Wesley's technically suicide?
Yes. Mine.
No.
So
No, but it is masturbation.
too short a season. If I may.
Oh, you hated it.
I didn't like it.
If I may
Wow.
steal something from you, Caitlin, seemed to have too short a script.
Actually, I think it had too long a script.
Really?
Because I think this would have been a fantastic episode
If not,
if not for the entire Jameson plot.
So the entire episode.
No.
This episode would have been great if it didn't exist.
I mean, you know, you have Jameson. You just have Jameson, the Admiral, who is famous and revered for having negotiated this peace.
And revered for his amazing makeup job.
Well, no.
He looked great.
I'm going to rewrite it. In my version of this episode, you cast an actual old man to play Jameson.
Yes, please.
And he comes on board the ship. He's like, and you know, Picard like gets a little boner.
He comes on board the ship in the holodeck or
everywhere.
Okay, great.
No, he needs the episode opens. The cold open is like Picard's getting a little boner. He's like, you know, my whole career, number one, I've been angsting to work and meet the great Jameson.
So,
you know, who
and then they play catch together.
Yeah.
So kind of like the boner Crusher had last episode for that physician.
Yeah.
With that plot thread that goes nowhere. So kind of like that.
There was a cut scene.
So
well, quickly, there was a cut scene from 11001001 in which we do see Bev with that hotshot cybernetics dude, and he's like 20 years old.
Oh. And she doesn't.
And she's
so she
like,
can't
"Oh God,
fuck
I'm
him.
old as fuck, and everything I've done is a lie, and I've accomplished nothing."
She finds out that he and Wesley are playing Words with Friends together, and she can't fuck him.
Wesley should have joined them to see, like, look, here's
Seriously.
what someone young can actually do, whereas you're doing fucking nothing.
And then the young guy could have been like, "Shut up, Wesley."
Yes.
Sorry. Anyway, I got us off course.
So anyway, so Jameson comes on board. Picard's got a little boner for him, and you know, and he's this great man. He's negotiated all these peace treaties, and then episode plays out. We go to the planet. Maybe it's there's some filler in there, and we find out just as we do that it was a fraud the whole time. That he only was able to negotiate the peace for which he is most famous by violating the Prime Directive and giving weapons and leading to 50 years of war on this planet. And then you have you still have the same resolution where he goes down there and like he ends up dying or.
But he just dies of Ibbetson's disease.
He just dies of the disease he has, and the leader of the planet's like, oh, this pathetic man, well, whatever. And for Picard, it's a lesson in,
never meet your heroes.
Yeah, never meet your heroes, and also, we shouldn't fuck with the Prime Directive. Because
so leave everything but cut the reverse aging part.
Because that was the dumb part, right?
The whole point of the episode was the writer wanted to explore andropause, which is the male version of menopause. Which does not exist.
Was this a
it does.
DC fun?
I didn't write it down.
It doesn't exist for every guy, but it is a thing where men stop producing so much testosterone, and it does cause problems. So it's not...
Yeah, but I think the whole, the existence of a male menopause that, just is.
Manopause.
Andropause.
Manopause.
No, it's rejected by the medical community, and that's why drug companies are over-marketing the hell out of it to sell testosterone and human growth hormone.
Nice.
So, not only is the old age makeup bad...
Oh, it's so bad.
So bad.
Each iteration is bad.
It doesn't
All
make...
of them.
It makes sense. Because we see Bones, right? Earlier in the season.
We saw Bones,
He's supposed to be 120. Mm-hmm. And he's got, old age makeup. But he still looks better than Jameson, who's supposedly only in his 80s.
But Jameson is very ill.
True, but still, it's like, if people are living to 120 on the reg, then 80-year-olds should look 50-ish, maybe?
Yeah, but his wife... who's presumably the same age as him.
She looks great.
She looks like in her late 50s,
they probably would,
60s,
like you
possibly.
said, just wave it away. It's the Ibbetson's disease.
That was my assumption.
Right? Iverson, that was close.
My assumption.
Yeah. It is like funny though, I was looking at it, it's like, are they trying? It's like, the makeup with him is like a weird mix of what they did to DeForest Kelly and old Biff from Back to the Future 2. Like, it crushed those together. And then he did that horrible...
I thought he looked like a Muppet.
He reminded me of Lazarus.
He did not look like a human person.
Did you ever see, there was a movie from, I want to say it had to be the early 90s. We've probably even talked about it on here before, because I think about this movie often, and how weird it is.
Gladiator.
Nothing But Trouble.
Never even heard of it.
I don't know it.
Yes! The fucking thing they put Dan Aykroyd in, the judge, he's horrific.
You've told me about this movie.
I have, because my stepdad introduced me to it like 100 years ago. And isn't there like a rap group that gets eaten, like, or Parliament, or that's not a rap group, that's a funk group.
No, it's Tupac Shakur's screen debut. Is that movie?
Wow. That's unfortunate
for
Tupac Shakur.
It's an unfortunate movie.
Yeah, that
better than your last movie being Street Fighter.
I mean, it's better than... Yeah, no, it's not. It's a terrible movie. I don't think it is better than that.
I think it's probably worth watching, if only for the weirdness factor of that movie.
It's so
fucking weird.
The like big baby things.
The weird big baby things.
Oh my god, it's so fucking
So what's the
weird.
correlation we're making?
Oh, terrible old age
makeup.
makeup.
Oh yeah,
makeup
so
on the
basically
judge.
the character played by one of the characters played by Dan Aykroyd. in
Ooh,
that
multiple
movie.
characters.
Yeah, the main character he plays is this wicked old judge thing, and they put aging makeup on him, and like I'm pretty sure they made the nose out of a dildo. It looks like it's got like a mushroom tip.
I could see that. Yeah.
But like it's like this.
Are you looking at the Dan Aykroyd makeup right now?
No, he's looking at dick pics again.
God damn
it basically is.
Oh god,
it's horrible age makeup.
I thought you were kidding about the nose.
Let me see it. I haven't seen it in a long time.
It is quite bad, and yeah, it does look like he actually has.
Oh my god, he does. He has a dick tip. What the shit?
This we technically can share on the Facebook page.
It does. It does. It looks like a penis head.
Yeah, it's got the little hole on the end.
It's got the
urethra.
But yes, you're right. That is about
urethra. Gesundheit.
All right, Leslie Nielsen.
But no, you're right. That is some quite abysmal. I mean, the thing is, we were talking about this on the way over. Old age makeup is rarely great.
In a word,
like
good?
They've maybe started to nail it. Well, maybe not nail it. It's gotten better within, I'd say, the last decade-ish.
Yeah, you know what's really fixed it is CG. CG is taking care of that.
Mm-hmm.
But like we were talking about this. There's this movie which what's it called again?
Synecdoche, New York.
Synecdoche, New York, which
falls Schenectady.
No,
it is.
It's Synecdoche.
It's a different one. Oh.
Yeah,
it's on purpose.
Oh.
It's a movie that
sucks a lot.
Caitlin hates it. I was totally on board until the last 20 minutes when I feel like it falls apart.
I was fucking never on board.
But either way, it has, if nothing else, some of the best old age makeup I've ever seen in anything.
That's true.
It is fucking phenomenal.
And it was what's his name? Truman Capote there.
Philip Seymour
Hoffman. May he rest in peace.
So it's called synecdoche. Is it like the part of speech synecdoche?
I think it must be.
Okay.
Yeah.
When an item
full disclosure,
an item represents a larger piece of itself.
which is definitely what the whole movie is.
Okay.
And like I think I'm just too stupid to get it. Like I just really didn't. I was like, I don't like this. I don't understand what's happening. The chronology's all weird, and I just didn't like it.
Is the title a play on Schenectady?
Probably.
It is. Yeah. If you ever see it, you'll. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
Yes, but the old age makeup on Jameson was horrifying.
I don't know if it was worse than his acting as an old person.
Oh, the voice he put on.
Oh.
Hello, Captain. No,
that
I'm
was
doing
too
too
good,
well.
Yeah.
And he kept the speech up right up until we saw him in his youngest form. I
Yeah.
think.
When he looks like he's 20.
Like when they kept having those scenes in the briefing room with the lights down low.
In shadow. Oh, God. That was so overused.
I thought that in that scene when he's talking to Carnitas, that he was... I know that's not really his name.
Oh,
that he was like
voice.
doing a voice to like fake him out.
Right.
That was kind of because he didn't want the chick to be up. You know, you gotta keep it secret that he's gonna be all young and shit.
Stupid plan, because he would have got to the planet.
I don't know, roundhouse kick the doors down. Like I don't know.
Did he know that the de-aging would go this fast?
I don't know.
Maybe he just thought, it'll give me some energy.
He got some black market drugs on eBay. Like, he probably didn't know what the fuck was going to happen.
Honestly, though, to your point, he was probably going to rescue the hostages, they beam out, and then he'd beam into Carnitas' office and roundhouse kick him and be like, got the hostages, asshole! Look who's young again!
Yeah, and then he'd
now
shit
I'm
on
gonna
his
force
desk.
my wife to be young too, even though she doesn't seem very into it.
And also, in my ideal world, he actually would have just become a baby at the end.
I think that was the original idea.
Yes! I'm so glad. I was like, he took these fucking Benjamin Button drugs.
Yes.
I hope the fuck he becomes a baby. But then he'd have to be a dead baby, and that's weird.
Well, originally what I read is that he doesn't die in the original script, but reverted to a 14-year-old who no longer remembered his wife, and it ended on Wesley giving him a tour of the Enterprise.
Tour of the Enterprise.
Why is that in quotes?
A tour of his rectal cavity.
Yes, thank you, Jake. My very subtle... Gross. Ugh. Okay, too young. Gross. Ugh. Ugh. I hope Roy Moore is... No, I don't hope he's listening, actually.
He's our biggest fan.
Oh, God. Roundhouse kick him in the face, Jameson.
You know what I could use? Roy Less.
Yeah.
Ah!
All right, let's. Yeah, no, that the ending we got was definitely the better ending. Because I mean, he doesn't deserve a second chance, and that's what it is.
He didn't deserve any chance.
The only one that would have been sad about that ending was his wife. You know, he gets to do it all over again. He gets to not be this criminal. Like, fuck him.
I wish he could. I honestly, I think, but no, I don't even think that. I think this was a shitty ending too. I think the better ending would have been
he gets old again. He
gets old again and has to, or even if he doesn't get old again, yeah, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he lives at his. He stops de-aging at 30 or whatever he was.
Yeah.
And his wife leaves him.
And he's disgraced, and he has to live in prison for the rest of his life, which is now a lot fucking longer because he's so young now.
Well, so do we actually think he would have lived a whole nother life over, or do we think it just was like cosmetic-ish?
No, because it was fucking with his organs too.
He fucked up his cells.
Yeah,
his
you're right.
Cells
You're right.
Cells are reverting.
Cells themselves.
Yeah, overall, I mean, I don't know. I like the overall idea. It just, I know you said this, Caitlin. It felt like they'd run a little short and they had to kind of repeat things.
Yeah, they just kept going back to, like, and the whole scene with, like, Troy and Crusher and what's-her-name being like, I just don't understand why he would do this.
Oh, can we also just briefly mention how fucking useless Troy continues to be?
Hey, she was a great help in 11011001.
You mean the episode she wasn't in?
Booyah! That's why it's the greatest episode of the season.
This episode didn't have Wesley, but it did have Troy. It's like they switch off which useless character. Although, I mean, Wesley they actually make use of inadvisedly, but like Troy again, she's in this episode.
She's
briefly.
in a low-cut blouse. What else do you want?
Yeah, and like they even make it a point to be like, there's this weird tension between Picard and Crusher about Jameson's emotional state,
I forgot about that.
And like, it's like a weird tense scene. It's like, well, why would Crusher be monitoring his emotional state when Troy is the ship's psychologist?
And she's supposedly an empath. Even though she barely proved
she gave him the stink eye on the bridge for a bit.
I sensed a holding back, and it's like I get that you can't say in front of Jameson that you meant him, but I don't think she ever pulled Picard aside and went, "I meant Jameson."
Yeah, Jameson's lying through his teeth, and he's obviously fucking creepy and probably a villain. So
that was the other thing that was weird. Was overall I did like a lot of this one, but there were some strange things, like the fact that Picard was still taking orders from him after he admitted his deceit back in the day. It's like, I'm pretty sure at that point
you should have reported him.
Yeah, at that point you get to go, well, you're super under arrest and no longer in charge of this.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, that's true.
But Picard was just being a man's man. Letting him, man's man, do his man thing.
Letting him fuck up.
Yeah.
That's really what it was. He was letting him fuck up.
Hopefully he'll just get killed.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I think that, the plot point, with the de-aging medicine, the fact that it was like, alien.
Fell off the drug
truck. But it was also like, oh, this is impossible. Like, I felt that was stupid. It reeked of spiritual sort of oh, it's magic. It's literal magic.
Well, you know why it's really unbelievable, actually? Because if there was an alien with that kind of technology...
we'd exploit it.
Yeah, we'd have it. Everyone would have it.
Yeah, they'd find out a way to make it work.
Reaping the benefits. But here's the thing. For all we know, it may have worked fine. He took double dose. You're not supposed to... If you fucking took a double dose of any medicine, it might make you feel unwell. I'm not saying...
Also, he was supposed to take it over the course of 2 years, and he just downed it.
Holy shit, really?
That's what he said.
Well, I think they also mentioned that other people had tried it before to ill effect.
Oh, yeah. He said it had a high mortality
that's when you
rate.
take it, give it to doctors, and they'll fix it, or see if it actually does
work. No, you're right. Well, I was arguing. I was like, how do we know it doesn't work? But we do know it doesn't work.
Here's a more realistic and in-world making sense version of this. This is a known drug and a known procedure that has been around. It does have a high mortality rate.
And his Iversons makes it especially complicated and tricky?
Maybe. And because of the high mortality rate, because of the risks involved, and maybe side effects that are really bad. It's banned. It's like a banned. It's like a drug. It's banned substance.
Much like visiting whatever that planet is. It's like one of the only things they still have the death sentence for.
Talos. Yeah, it's like that, or it's like using proto-matter and the Genesis. It basically is the Genesis device, isn't it?
Kind of.
Yeah, it's true.
And they launched it into him with like a little slingshot.
Maybe.
Here comes the spaceship. Here comes the Genesis device. Open up.
So yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just proto-matter. That's literally what the medicine is.
That'd be interesting.
Proto-matter is unstable and weird.
It reminded me of I think it's XKCD comic where they're talking about all these ridiculous like spiritual things and other stuff like that, and the fact that they can't possibly actually work, because if they did work, we would exploit them in various ways. Like if fucking crystal therapy worked, it would be used in the medical realm. If fucking tarot worked, they would use it to like guess lottery numbers or something.
Yeah, but
tarot has no way to tell you numbers, Ames.
Yeah,
That's
but
not how it works.
There are numbers on those cards, Caitlin.
But like only like 1 through 13 or something, right? Isn't it like?
Well, they use base 13. You mix cards together to get the other numbers.
Jesus Christ, you're right. We need to go get our tarot read and then play the fucking lottery. Great idea, Ames.
But just make sure we're counting in base 13.
1 1 0.
But yeah, I mean, that's a good point. 1. I think every medium ever has been exceptionally vague, conveniently.
Yep.
Oh, I feel, Chris, a male presence. Do you have any male relatives who have died ever?
In your entire life?
In your entire life? Is there a grandparent or great-grandparent or great-great-grandparent who's dead?
All my grandparents are alive.
But not your great-grandparents.
Them too, and the great-greats. Only the great-great-greats are dead.
One then.
Burn!
Must be one of them then. He wants to tell you, cool beard.
Nailed it. All right, they totally bought it.
Thanks, Papa.
That is something my great-great-great-great-grandfather would say if I had ever known him.
And he had a great beard.
If anything, my great-great-great-great-grandfather probably just hated Lincoln. But yeah, so this episode, it's interesting because I appreciate the fact that there wasn't a pointless B plot like some of the episodes have had, like no pointless bullshit with Wesley.
It was the 2 plots, but they were kind of one and the same.
They kind of was a pointless B plot, which is I'm gonna live forever,
but that, like,
and I'm gonna bone my hot wife.
It was intertwined.
Yeah,
it wasn't like a completely separate.
Yeah, story. It wasn't like how in some episodes it's been like we're dealing with a crisis, and then Crusher comes in and is like, John Luke, talk to Wesley. Like, not right now! We are under attack! What is wrong with you? So I appreciate that they didn't have that, but it still did feel like the episode was stretched out to fill the time slot.
Yeah, it just felt like they were sort of... Yeah, I definitely felt like it was a little too short. But,
again, good moment for Picard at the end, the big speech to Karnas, being all like, you dick, you didn't have to use the weapons, now look, whoa. But much more eloquent and British.
Yeah, but like, and did anybody else notice on the wall of weapons behind Karnas was
Chris did notice
was a movie era phaser.
Two.
Yeah,
there was a Star Trek 2 one and a Star Trek, I think, like either 3 or 5 one or 6.
Chris paused and like identified.
I was very excited.
He was.
They had modified though. They changed the hilt and they got rid of the adjustment toggle from the Star Trek 2 one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why do you know that?
I had a scale replica one when I was a kid. But yeah, no, they like clearly had wrapped something around the hilt because the handle in the original is the same sort of matte gray as the rest of it.
I keep telling Jake every couple episodes this comes up when they're carrying their phasers in their stupid holsters on their sides, and they're sticking up in a stupid way. It looks like they're just carrying dildos around.
Yeah, those fucking dustbusters are fucking stupid.
The Type 2s are awful.
I just don't get why they don't just have a pew pew gun.
Why
is it gotta
pistol
be
shaped?
Yeah, you know what? It's
it's gotta be harder. This would be harder to aim.
Absolutely, it would because it's stupid. I hate it.
It's dumb.
It reminds me of the Master's dick wand in old Doctor Who.
Like
yeah,
the
I don't
synth
know.
music in this episode.
Yeah, so
God.
this was great. We're listening to the music and it's all synthy.
Very synthy.
And Chris is like, what is this? Fucking 80s, an episode of 80s Doctor Who? And at that moment, Jameson and his wife transported on board and he's in this little like wheelchair thing. And I was like, yeah, it is. And there's Davros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good moment.
Although in reality, in a lot of ways, it kind of looks like the
Pike Mobile?
No,
It's
the
also like the Pike movie.
the hover wheelchair that Professor X has in the early '90s X-Men cartoon.
What do they call you? Wheels?
Yeah, overall, I mean, it was a good, good solid idea. Overall,
I
I
kept-
liked it well enough.
I kept thinking that Karnas's hostage situation was going to be a bluff the whole time, and that there weren't hostages at all.
It was just a way to lure.
Jameson.
Well, and that's the thing. Why even bother having real hostages?
That's true.
I mean, for all we know...
Starfleet would have taken his word for it regardless. It's Starfleet. It's what they do.
Not like they're checking up. That's a
Yeah,
good
that's
point.
the other thing, too. It's like, how did the truth about what happened the first time never come to pass? Oh, well, he managed to negotiate, and now there's a 50-year civil war on, so...
Hey, they suddenly have really advanced weapons
I'm
on
sure
this
these
planet.
two things are not related at all.
Yeah. Well, Jameson.
Good old Starfleet admirals.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's like.
Oh, yeah, he's on your
guess-
list.
Yeah,
He is.
He was on my list, and I think
Which number was he? Do you remember?
he wasn't super high
I
on
feel
the
like he
list.
should be super high, because he's terrible.
There's a lot worse though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's bad.
I know Cartwright does some bad things, but he didn't have this bad wake up.
That's true.
Well, that's interesting. Now, let's talk about this, right?
Let's unpack this.
Is separated from what happened because of it. Jameson's actions don't seem that bad.
Okay,
but then he does cause 40-odd years of civil war.
He's also a little dick about it.
Yeah. But then you think about, Cartwright was part of this conspiracy which would have continued conflict between the Klingon Empire and the rest of the galaxy.
Would have made the Klingons go extinct.
Possibly, yeah.
And then there'd be no conflict anymore. Ah.
But the loss of life and genocide.
But he was
cares?
conspiring with the Klingons to do that. So.
Yeah, I don't think anyone recognized the irony.
Guys, just remember, Finney blew his whole fucking career by not tightening a screw enough. So...
That's a good point.
I mean, that's Finney's version of events. I'm sure there were other reasons Finney never got
Yeah,
promoted.
he also whipped it out in a meeting or something.
Yes.
Or Finney was just, kind of a useless asshole. He kind of feels like he was a useless asshole.
I prefer to think he whipped it out in a meeting.
I think that's good.
This is coming full circle on the dick thing here.
Yeah.
Speaking of full circle,
Jerk.
yeah. So
Every time. Every fucking time.
So we had a self-destruct, obviously, near self-destruct this week. Made me think about Star Trek 3.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm
something,
so sorry.
and then I realized, and I don't think we talked about this on the episode. If we did, you can cut this. But what the fuck was their plan in Star Trek 3? Kirk just blows up their ride.
And beams down.
There was no reason for them to believe they would ever be able to get the Klingon ship.
No, you're right.
They just blew up their ride.
Yeah.
Wow.
They would. I would have
It was survival.
This
I
has
think
been-
You could flood the transporter room with anesthetine gas.
Yeah.
There's tons of things they could have done.
wow.
Yeah.
Really, the Klingons' argument that Kirk is a maniac and murdered a Klingon crew holds water. It definitely does. Because he didn't need to do that.
No.
He did it at his own peril. Because he knew the Genesis planet was fucked at that point, because Savick had already told him that that Protomatter was involved.
Yeah.
So he knew the planet was going away. He had no way of getting off that planet. He just wanted to murder a bunch of Klingons who just killed his son.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too,
And
though.
the rest of the crew went along with him. So those guys.
Well, the other thing
Fucking
is,
enablers.
Don't let the guy whose son just died make the decision to kill the.
Here's the thing, though.
everybody.
The only person who was around that could have fixed it was Spock, and he was 14 and learning how to fuck or
That's
whatever.
true.
the justification I feel like they could use is
And Bones was crazy.
whatever Kirk's mental state, you did have to keep the Enterprise from falling into the hands of the Klingons,
Yeah.
which could have happened.
It could have happened, but they could have done a similar thing that they did in this episode, which is start the self-destruct, stay on the ship, try to defeat the Klingons. If that
then-
fails,
yeah.
then
No,
you
I
blow
feel
up the
like
ship.
if every single time we pretend to go to self-destruct,
Yeah.
and every single time we don't actually self-destruct, then it just feels like it's like someone's dangling the carrot over your head forever.
I'm
then-
glad they blew up the ship in that movie.
But yeah,
it
if
was
you
a
think
fitting
about it-
end. It was it was a trade. We got Spock back, but we lost the ship. You know, it was fine.
Yeah. But yeah, no, what
Bones
was
looks great,
was the plan?
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, what was there?
Like, there was a plan here, you know?
Yeah, like we're gonna have to blow up the ship and stop the Klingons. Okay, Captain, then what? We'll beam down to the planet. Okay, the planet's gonna blow up too. Okay. I'll punch the Klingon into a volcano.
That will appease the gods.
Kick.
I have had enough of that guy. I'll kick him into the volcano, and then hope that there'll be one Klingon left on the ship to beam us up. Yeah. Okay. Good.
I'll have to know enough
Nailed
Klingon to get and a good Krug impersonation
Yep.
to get us beamed up.
Oh, we'll have to get Uhura right on it.
And-
no, sir, I don't speak Klingon.
Unless you're
Hopefully
also
they don't
Vulcan
have
at
any
that point.
armed guards in the transporter room. Anyway.
Yeah, no, Picard's plan made more sense. Set the thing. If we get under the bridge and subdue these guys, then we can turn it off. And if we can't, well, there we go.
All right. Well, anyway, sorry to bring this back to Star Trek 3.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, thanks.
But it was. But I thought
Can
it was
we talk
worth
about
mentioning.
the cage again?
We did bring up the Telosians.
We did. We sure did. Yeah. What was Pike's plan? Okay. I think that is about all we can say about these 2 episodes and the Orville and that Dan Aykroyd shitty movie.
And Star Trek 3.
And Star Trek 3. And everything else we got sidetracked on this week. But needless to say, I think we're all in agreement. At least 11001001 was a good episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds like mixed bag with the Jameson episode. But
Yeah, I mean, better than a lot we've seen this season, but
yeah, some potential there, but not all in all.
not fully realized.
Not fully realized. Not going to be a particularly memorable.
Memorable.
I don't know. I'm going to remember that makeup.
I'll remember that too.
Rememberable me.
Yeah.
But certainly not a classic. And interesting, yeah, I feel like 11001001 also is not a very well remembered episode either.
Really? I thought it...
Like, I don't know, it's just like I feel like it's never really high on people's lists.
It's because I think most people just sort of dismiss season 1 because
Also,
the consensus about season 1 is like, it's just trash.
Also, they can't remember the title.
Yeah.
It's the 101, the binary
No,
episode.
it's both pairs. There's 10 and 01, and then there's 110. No, and then there's 11 and 00. So it's all.
It's the
matched
four.
up.
Yeah, it's the four. It's the names of the 4
That's
binars.
what I said. Yes, that's what I was trying to say poorly because I can't talk human.
Which brings up the point: if all binars are named two
There's
binary
only 4
digits,
possible names.
There's only 4 possible names on their planet.
Yeah.
And they're in decimal. Their names are 0, 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, that's interesting because does that mean that are there only 4 binars?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's... no, they just all have the same name. There's just, like, shitloads of, like... Do they have surnames?
They're speaking.
Do you think they have surnames? Or
Maybe.
do you...
Yeah, my name is 01. Well, what's your last name? 110-100-111-001-111-111-011-111.
0.
What's your name? 01. What's your last name? McGillicuddy. Take us out, Jake.
All right. Next week, we'll be talking about 2 extremely forgettable episodes.
Yay!
In When the Bow Breaks and Home Soil.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. Great. Yeah. and I say that they are forgettable because I haven't seen these yet for this rewatch, and I could not tell you what either of them are about. So, and I think the week after that, we're going to get Wesley's thingy. Yeah, Coming of Age, or Heart of Glory. Oh, interesting. That's a good episode. Both of those are okay.
But that's not next week.
That's not next week. So next week, prepare to have another Off the Rails episode where we talk about nothing but the 2 shitty episodes. And then the following week, we might actually talk about Star Trek. This has been, of course, A Star to Steer Her By, Star Trek podcast. You know, a friend of mine told me that I am making a big mistake by not insisting on that people give us 5 stars. Because, one of our listeners was like, why do you tell people not to give you 5 stars? I'm like, because I the whole thing about the honest review.
It's not that you don't tell people not to give you 5 stars. You tell people to give you
an honest
review.
Yeah, but he says... Now, I don't know how this is, if this is true, but that this number of stars you have greatly affects your search ranking. They're like, if you have low star. So here's what I'm changing my tune a little bit because I do want it to be high in the search, and I think other people, you want other people to listen to us. If you don't want other people to listen to us, by all means, give us a shit review. But here's the thing. Give us a 5-star review, but write your shitty comments in the comments section. So
5 stars. I hate your fucking stupid face.
Exactly. That way we'll, people will still show up in the thing. So I'm changing my policy a little bit on the reviews.
Give us a 5-star review if you think you deserve a 5-star review. If you think we've deserved 4 or lower, don't rate us.
No, still rate us. Give us the 5, but again, tell us in the comments how shitty we are.
I actually love that. I would love to see a bunch of 5-star ratings just being like, none of you are funny. Why are you laughing so much at these stupid things?
Yeah.
Like, I just think that would actually be kind of hysterical.
No one cares about
Why is
your
Chris
dicks.
making that face?
Why do you want people to insult us?
I don't know.
It'd just be funny.
Emotional masochist.
Yeah, we could put together like a promo that includes all of the negative reviews.
That would be really funny.
Okay, anyway, so of course, if you do want to review us, we encourage you to do that. You can do that, of course, at iTunes. I don't think you can actually review us on Google, or at least I couldn't see.
I don't
where that
fucking
was.
know.
I
I don't even know how to use
Google
for podcasts because I use other things.
But anyway, so we are on those 2 platforms. Also, any other like
SoundCloud.
podcast search engine, SoundCloud. That's of course A Star to Steer Her By. You can also get us on Facebook at Star to Steer Her By. We have Twitter and Tumblr where we're SSHB Podcast. We encourage you, of course, to check us out on all those platforms. Like, comment, review, do what you got to do.
Yeah, check out the Tumblr and see what Jake said about Mark
Oh
Jameson.
yeah, that's right. I have an article up there from way back where I list the top 10 worst admirals. Jameson is among them, as are some of our past favorites. Actually, I think chronologically, not because we've seen Cartwright already, but I think chronologically Jameson might be the first, because I don't think Decker made it, because he's technically a Commodore. And he wasn't really evil, he was just a little crazy.
Yeah, understandably so.
Yeah. Okay, so as I've already said, this is A Star to Steer Her By. My name is Jake.
This is Chris.
This has been Ames.
And this is always Caitlin.
Go fuck yourselves.
Be sure to tip your yeoman?
You're terrible at taglines.
We've still got to find out how we're signing out from this.
Nope,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think we're doing great.
Let's see.
How's your clinging?
Go Axel Wesley.
Go fly a kite.
All right, so
And Jake thinks that I take forever when I do synopses.
yeah, that was a longie.
So
We got a little off track.
So before we go to anything else, we got to talk about Sir Patrick's boner again, right?
Why?
Sorry, what?
Do they in England issue knights with special condoms that are designed to look like old-timey knight helmets? Like
They-
there's got a
they
little
don't.
grill in the
They
I
don't.
don't think they do.
No,
They
there's something
don't.
wrong with you, Chris.
But you could probably 3D print one just to
Probably.
place on your dick.
I just love to think that's the thing. You get knighted, and then the queen hands you this box of special...
I want someone to 3D print cute little dick helmets. I would buy a gross.
Someone's gonna steal that idea and open up a store in Etsy.
Do we know anybody with a 3D printer?
Yes.
Let's get on it. Take all of that out. We're doing it. We're gonna make shitloads of money.
Dick helmets?
I mean,
You could do all kinds of different ones. We could do like Spartan soldiers. We could do like Trojan War shit. We could fucking Trojan War. It's perfect.
There you go. All right, there it is. There's our $1 billion business idea. Dick helmets.
Herodotus's
Dick helmet. I'll
histories.
reserve the domain. dickhelmets.com.
It might already exist.
Probably already exists, because isn't helmet already a slang for dickhead?
Urban Dictionary penis helmet. A small helmet, usually made out of an alloy used to protect the head of your penis, can be worn with or without a dick strap, so I think they exist.
Whatever, we're gonna make them
Dick
great.
strap.
We're gonna make dick helmets great again.
Yeah.
I call Jake a dick strap all the time.
Dick strap.
This one's dressed as Speed Racer.
Is it actually a dick? Let me see
It's
it.
actually a dick.
Oh, this guy! It's Evil Knievel, first of all.
Yeah,
It says
no,
it right
thank
under
you.
it. But also...
No, that's wrong. That's Speed Racer's M on his helmet.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Whoever
It's Mach
tagged it is
5,
wrong.
so
Stop
they're
showing
wrong.
it to me.
Ames doesn't want to see the dick.
Listeners, needless to say, this will not be shared on the Facebook page. Just Google
Stop
penis
showing
helmet.
us
Just
dick
pixelate
pics.
it. It'll
Chris,
be fine.
put your dick away. No one wants to see your dick helmet.